Well, welcome back. We're looking at Acts chapter 2, verse 2. This is the second part of the third session. And we're dealing with the content of Pentecost, which is, of course, given to us. He begins to do that in verse 2. And we're looking at the sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind. Again, as we said previously, I know you do in Bible study what I do, and that is you try to find out what the major idea is. And of course, in verse 2, the major idea is this sound from heaven. In fact, in the English translation, he uses the pronoun it filled the whole house. And of course, you ask, what is the antecedent of it? And it goes back to sound from heaven. So the whole structure of verse 2 revolves around this idea of the sound from heaven. Now, I'm proposing to you three ideas in the explanation of the content that he is giving to us. And the first idea is the idea of communication. That God desperately, desperately, desperately wants to communicate to you. Not data, not information, not knowledge, not truths, but he wants to communicate truth, which is what he is and who he is. So God is wanting to give a revelation of himself to you. So if you knew every biblical truth there was to know, if you could answer every biblical question that anybody ever asked, you still wouldn't have even the beginning point of Christianity. Because Christianity is not being the best Bible quizzer in the country. It's the embrace of the person of Jesus within you. So that's what he's giving to us in verse 2 in explanation of Pentecost. That Pentecost is not, oh, here's some new information. God has written a new book. Here's a new treatise. No, this is a new level of intimacy where God is revealing himself within you. Now, having said that and grasping that in experience in our own lives, I want to move to the two other ideas. This is a sound communication from heaven. And I'd like to spend a little time talking to you, the second idea, about from. It's a phenomenal thing that he's done here in this passage. This is a sound from heaven. Now, in the Greek language, and that becomes very important in the whole aspect of this phrase, sound from heaven. In the Greek language, there are two Greek words that distinctly and properly can be translated from. One is the Greek word ek, spelled E-K. The other is the Greek word apo, spelled A-P-O. So you got ek and apo. Both of them can legitimately be translated from. Say it with me. Ek. Ek. Oh, you just love to say it, don't you? One more time. Ek. Say apo. Apo. One more time. Apo. Now, say it together. Ek and apo, which means from. So now you know Greek. So those are the two Greek words that are translated from in the New Testament. Now, when you read the New Testament, like this verse 2, sound from heaven, you don't know whether it's ek or apo unless you look it up. Well, what difference does it make? Oh, while both of them can legitimately be translated from, in the Greek language, which again shows you the depth of the language, in the Greek language, they paint two distinct pictures, and they are never used interchangeably. In other words, in the Greek language, it isn't, well, you can use ek or you can use apo, doesn't matter. Oh, yes, it does, because it says two different things. Ek gives you one idea. Apo gives you a whole nother approach to the idea. Let me tell you the distinction. Both of them can be translated from. From basically means movement. He came from that room, meaning what? Well, he was over there in that room. Now he's changed locations. He's here. So from has to do with changing locations. That's true with ek. That's true with apo. But the distinctive between ek and apo is that when you use ek, you're saying that yes, there was motion, Yes, he changed locations, but he was originally inside of the previous object from which he came. Apo says, yes, he changed locations, but he was previously nearby the object from which he came. So ek means inside the object. Apo means nearby, close to. So if we were saying there's a room over here and he came from that room, we would use the word ek. Why? Because he was inside the room. So ek would tell you he was previously inside the room and came from that room to here. If you used apo, you would be saying he was close to, nearby, around the room and came over here. So ek means he was previously inside. Apo means he was nearby. Now, you got to get that distinction because that changes everything when you read the verse. Let me give you an example. We'll say it's some kind of celebration, your wife's birthday, and you want to get her a card, and you want to give her a gift and say so she'll feel good on her birthday, because most women don't feel good about birthdays. Okay, so you go down to Hallmark, and you rummage through the cards, and you find this card that says all this, and you sign your name, I love you, and you sign your name and give it to her, and she appreciates it. Now, that is apo, because you gave her the card, and it came from you, but it didn't come from inside. You got it off the rack. Now, you could go home, and you could write a poem and hand it to her on a card. That would be ek. Why? Because it came from inside. Comprehend? So, the distinction between the two words. Let me give you another example. The boy picked up the rock and threw it at me. The rock came from the boy. That would be apo. Why? Because it was right down there by his foot. It's not ek. It wasn't a kidney stone. It was a stone right down there by his toe. He reached down. See, it's nearby, close to. So the from, ek, is inside. Apo means close to. Probably belabored it too long, but that's really distinctive. Now, come into the passage. Suddenly there came a sound from heaven. Is it ek or is it apo? It is ek. Woo! That changes everything. So the distinction of the sound, this communication that we're talking about, that has literally come from heaven, is not, well, it's nearby. It was close to. Just outside the city gates, out there on a cloud. God reached out, grabbed a hold of it, and threw it down. No, it was not nearby. It was not close to. It was not around. It was ek, meaning inside. Now, the word heaven here is distinct in the fact that it is related to the person of God. So he's literally saying this sound from heaven, this what's happening in the 120, in the fullness of the Spirit, has come from the very interior of God. This is not something he manufactured in his laboratory. This is not something he built in his shop. This is not something he welded down at the welding shop. This is that God reached down inside himself, stuck his fingers right down his own throat, grabbed a hold of his bosom, literally yanked it out and dumped it on the streets right inside of us, brought it down to our inside, filled us with what is inside him. So what is going on inside of God has now literally come to be inside of us. That is absolutely mind-boggling. You realize that the writers of the New Testament were constantly battling the Gnostics. And if you've studied the epistles like 1 John, it's really strong. Gnostics, the word gnostos is the Greek word for knowledge. So they were really into this knowledge, data, information stuff. So they were really into that. And they projected, one of the ideas they projected was that God is high and lifted up. We would certainly agree to that. God is holy beyond degree, We would certainly agree with that. He is so holy, they would say, that he cannot contaminate himself by getting involved with man, defiling himself with the sinful nature of man. So what God did, they said, was God, who can't touch mankind because it would defile him, created a being less than himself. Then that being created another being less than himself. And that being created another being less than himself. And that being another one, and that being another one, 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 until way down there, right next to mankind, the last man was created. The last individual, the last essence was created. Jesus. And he could actually touch mankind. He's the last man on the totem pole of a whole creation coming from God in an attempt to reach man. They were constantly battling against that. Now, he's talking about that right here. There came a sound from the very internal. This is not a watered-down version. This is not an anemic, half-hearted kind of. This is not a washed out. This is not a facsimile. This is not a replica of. This is the very essence of the life of God. Oh, if you get a hold of that. See, he's describing what's going on in 120, and he's telling this group of Jews that is going to read this book. He's saying to them, what has happened, where we've come to is Jesus died, rose from the dead, ascended to the right hand of the Father, all for the purpose that the holy nature, full blaring essence of all that God is in his holy nature has literally come and has literally been planted inside of us. Whew. What kind of people could we be if that's true? How could we live? What kind of lifestyles would we have if the pure nature of God, which is love, has filled us? What would we be like? Do you see? This is not, well, I got to love everybody. Well, I'll try. Well, I didn't hit him. Well, count to 10. See, this is the full nature of God has come to indwell me. And, whoa, I can't help myself. See, this is why we are so always talking about the doing versus the responding idea. That this is not I got to do this, and God requires this, and I got to pull this. No, this is, whoa, all that he is has come to be in here, and all I need to do is respond to who he is as he begins to flow in my life. That changes the whole approach that you make with this one little word. So what's going on in us is not some anemic, washed-out substitute kind of like thing. It's the full essence of who God is literally indwelling me. So it's a sound from heaven. Let me give you the third idea. This is so phenomenal, it's unbelievable. It's a sound from heaven. Sound. God wants to communicate to you, not data, not information, himself. And what he wants to communicate is the essence of his internal nature. And so what's going to come to be within you, he says, or what has come to be within you is this very internal, full-blaring nature of God. And it's going to come to you as a sound. Now, the Greek word, you realize, hey, you're intelligent people. You realize that he had lots of words to choose from. I mean, hundreds of words to describe the fullness of the Spirit. And he picked out the Greek word that's translated sound here. It's only used 4 times in the whole New Testament. 4 times. It's not very often. So there's 3 of them that are, this is obviously one of them. And when you begin to see the usage of the word It's phenomenal as he uses it in the New Testament. The idea of sound, it's the Greek word ekos. It's where we get our word echo. So he's literally saying this is an echo from heaven. Now, echo. You know all about echo. My dad would take us on vacation. Well, one time. So anyhow, we went down here in the mountains, kind of a canyon-like thing. And you could stand in this. They had it all marked out. You could stand in this one place. You could yell your name. And somebody out there would yell it back. There wasn't anybody out there. It was an echo. You could ask a question. You wouldn't get an answer. Why? Because there's nobody out there. It's sound waves that are coming from you, going out, rebounding, responding, coming back at you, and it's an echo. Now, the impact of that in this verse is that what's going on in us, we don't produce this. This is not, well, get your act together. Well, here's a list. Well, try this. Well, come to Sunday school on time. This is not, well, read the Bible more. This is not, well, pray harder. See, this is none of that. This is, whoa. What's going on in God is literally being projected to me, and I am literally responding to it, and he is bouncing, reflecting, echoing, coming from. I don't produce this. I don't pull this off. This is not what I do. I don't reason this out. I don't even grasp this. I don't even know this is happening. It's none of my business. This is an echo, a flow of who he is, resounding from me. He's doing something beyond me. So if Pentecost is anything, it's that which is bigger than we are. If Pentecost is just another Christian ceremony that we can pull off, then we are nowhere. So what's going on is, this is the fullness of the Spirit, the flow. It's the dispenser idea. You know the dispenser? Yeah, you go in the sink and you got this little dispenser plastic thing and you bang on the top and it spurts out. Thank you. And yeah. Well, it's empty. What do you do with it? You throw it away. Why? Because it's just plastic. It's cheap. We'll just get another one, and the other one will be full. So the dispenser is nothing. So here you are, filled with God. We pound you on the head, and Jesus comes out of you. You dispense him. Hey, you're nothing. And hey, that's exactly what the Apostle Paul said. He said, we have this treasure. And if you go to the verse before that, the treasure is the light of God that was in the face of Jesus. We have this treasure in earthen vessels. And you know, you've heard it so often, the earthen vessel, Greek word for earthen vessel, means crackpot. So we have this light in a crackpot. God has taken the light, the treasure of his greatness, and has literally planted it into some old crackpot. Why would he do that? That the power may be of God, not of us. Because the crackpot, you don't care about that. You cover it up, you put a little, and everybody looks at what's contained within the pot. So the whole emphasis here is like that. It's not on us. It's on him. He is coming, reflecting, and we are responding. We don't produce this. So this is not try harder. This is not grit your teeth, resist more. That's not what this is about. This is about flow and life and relax and let him do it and count on him and faith and invoke the activity of the second party and flow and let him dance on the stage of your life. And this is not do your best. This is, whoa, forget it, man, because your best is terrible. So this is the flow of this. Wow, it's phenomenal. We, of course, about, 10 years ago, moved to Nashville, Tennessee from Indiana, and was thrilled to come to Nashville, Tennessee. Now, the state of Tennessee is a phenomenal state, long and narrow. On the east end of Tennessee, the state of Tennessee is Knoxville. A little further south is Chattanooga, Smoky Mountains. Beautiful, beautiful. Right in the middle of the state is Nashville. And on the west end of the state of Tennessee is Memphis. Oh, come on. Rock and roll, baby. Woo! Play the music, son. I'm talking the king is alive. I'm talking Elvis land, brother. Elvis land. Woo! Graceland. Oh, man. We all, wow. Graceland. I mean, people come and bow at the wall. I mean, he still lives. He was raised from the dead, evidently. But, I mean, the king is alive. Graceland. I feel sorry for anybody who wasn't a teenager in the 50s. If you were not a teenager in the 50s, psst, you poor folks, you missed it. I mean, can you imagine? We just got indoor plumbing, and we just got electricity, you know, and we were watching black and white TV, and Ed Sullivan show, and Elvis came on. Whoa, we'd never seen anything like it. And all those wiggles and that guitar and this music, and whoa, we went out of there, and rock and roll was born, son. Was born. And 57 Chevys. Oh, we were so cool. We had our collars up, and we had our hair in ducktails, and man, we had our belt on the side. Some of us never quit, and we had our 57 Chevys, and we cruised the streets, and on Sunday afternoon, and had the rock and roll music up, and we were so cool, man. We were so cool. The 50s. They still have these Elvis conventions, Elvis wannabe conventions. I've never been to one, but I've seen them on TV. And these guys come from all over the world, dress up like Elvis. They got these Elvis suits, and got their Elvis cape, and they try to grow their hair like Elvis. If they can't, they put on a wig, and try to grow sideburns like Elvis. If they can't, they paste them on, and they try to look like Elvis, and they try to walk like Elvis and talk like Elvis, and try to sing like Elvis. If they can't, they play a CD and mouth the words, and they compete with each other. And some of them are really good, really, really good. In fact, some of them are so good, these Elvis wannabes, some of them are so good that we pay them, and they go around the country and we watch them. They're really good. Look just like Elvis. But they're not Elvis. Wannabe Elvises. But they're not Elvis. They want to be, but they're not. In fact, when they get done with their Elvis performance, they go backstage, they take off their wig, they pull off their sideburns, take out their glass eye, false teeth comes out, wooden leg falls off. See, they're not Elvis. They're not Elvis. They're Elvis wannabes. Came to church early one Sunday. It's out in the parking lot. And as I was standing there, this guy from our church, he pulled into the parking lot, and windows were rolled up. I was glad of that. He had his wife sitting there, and as he pulled into the parking lot, his face was beet red. He was screaming at the top of his lungs. He was beating the steering wheel a little bit, and his wife was over in the corner cowering, and the kids were in the back seat, and he was obviously mad and yelling, and it was awful. And he pulled into whipped the car into a parking spot, screeched the tires, and he was really upset. I stood there and watched him. He got himself settled down. I watched him reach up and straighten up his Jesus face. He reached over and got his Jesus book. I watched him step out of the car, smooth out his Jesus suit, and start his Jesus walk. He's a Jesus wannabe. He's not Jesus. Wants to be. If you talk to him, he'd say, WWJD. I'm trying to do what Jesus would do. But of course he doesn't. But he wants to be. He's a Jesus wannabe. I try to love like Jesus, but I can't. I want to, but I'm doing my best. He would use words like, I'm trying. God isn't done with me yet. I don't walk on water. He's a Jesus wannabe. Do you realize that's not what we're talking about here? That's not what he's talking about in this passage. He says, I want to describe Pentecost to you, and this is not, well, do your best. This is not, well, try hard. This is not, well, wear sandals and grow long hair. This is not trying to be like Jesus. Oh, to be like thee. That's not what this is. This is the actual essence of the life of Jesus coming to be within you, reflecting out of you. We all know you're not Jesus, but we see him all over your life. Well, I make lots of mistakes. I know. We see him even in your mistakes. See, this is not about being perfect. Nobody's ever advocated that. This is not about, well, I never have to say I'm sorry because I never do anything wrong. No, this is in the midst of all your life and all your mistakes and all your humanness and all your human limitations and all your frailties. We see this flow of the nature of God, and we wouldn't see it. See, if you lived a perfect life, we would figure it was you, but we know it isn't you because we've seen you. And you got a wart on your nose, boy. This is not about that. This is about, we actually see the flow of the life of Jesus. This is not being a Jesus wannabe. This is a flow of, this is not imitating the Jesus who was. This is participating in the Jesus who is, which is his life. That's Pentecost. And that's what he's talking about. And see what we've become. See, I've been a phony. I've been a fake. I've been a facsimile. I've been a replica. Ever go to the fair, or an art fair or something, and they have this cartoonist person, and she paints your picture, but it isn't you. Well, it is you. Well, it's a cartoon imagery of you. And your nose is all out of shape, which is really bad for me. But you get this nose all out of shape and this face. And see, I've been a cartoon caricature. I've been a Looney Tune of the real thing that I was supposed to be. So what he's talking about in Pentecost is the essence of Jesus, literally coming and reflecting dispensed out of my life. And in the midst of all of my humanness and ignorance and dumbness and stupidity and all the things that still stay the way they are, there is this flow of the life of God that Jesus is seen. A sound from heaven. Wow. Want that in my life. Jesus, it points us back to you. You're the deal. And in the development of all the knowledge and in the development of all the biblical truths and in all the right theology and figuring it all out and nailing it all down and yelling and screaming and doing all the stuff, if there is not the flow of your life literally moving in the inside of your being, literally moving in the inside of my being, whereby you are reflected and flowing and living through my being. If I miss that, I've missed it all. Whatever, oh God, whatever keeps you from echoing, flowing in my life. And obviously it isn't my stupidity, because that doesn't seem to ever go away. And obviously it isn't my mistakes, because I continue to make them. Obviously, Jesus, you want to shine in the midst of all the humanness of my being. So this is not ceasing to be human and becoming Superman. This is about you living on the stage of my life, manifesting yourself. Please do that. And whatever it takes to get that done, give me Pentecost. Christ in you, the hope of glory.